Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. Hello, 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 and good afternoon, community. Wow, I'm so blown away by that commercial. I hope you guys all are too. As you see, Juneteenth is ramping things up and getting ready for this year's Juneteenth. But for today, we are with our weekly lunch and learn. Thank you for joining us. Today we have Dana Starr Kiwacz, and she's going to let me know if I said that properly when she comes on, because that is one of my things, making sure that I pronounce people's names right and acknowledge that if I don't. She is the founder of Inspired Life Design Studio. She's a certified high performance coach and life vision architect. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear what she's bringing today. In addition, she is a mother, a wife, a corporate executive, a healthcare disparity ambassador, a sickle cell warrior, and legacy builder. People are her passion, and nothing brings her more joy than empowering everyday people to create extraordinary results for their life and business. For over 10 plus years, she has experience in helping people gain clarity, freedom, and joy while building the mental stamina and accountability needed to optimize their strengths. Her approach is unique in that she utilizes her diverse background in neuroscience, linguistics, sales, and leadership development to help clients create sustained results and leave a lasting impact on their legacy. The title of her workshop today is 3 Steps to Shift Dreams into Action and Gain. All right, I'm going to need my phone to stop misbehaving. Sorry, you guys. 3 steps to shift dreams into action and gain massive traction in your life and legacy. She's going to help us get clear, get accountable, and get our hustle on. Let's welcome Dana to the stage. Hey, Dana. So please tell me,
Hi.
did I say your last name properly?
It was close. It was close. It's Kiwatz, like light watts. So
Kiwatz.
yeah,
Oh, I like
it's
that.
tricky.
All right, Kiwatz. Thank you. Well, welcome. I am going to pass the stage over to you and let you dive in and share what you came to share with us today.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate the
Thank
warm
you.
introduction, and thank you to Emoji Events for having me here on this platform. And thank you to everyone that's out there watching live, or potentially you'll be watching the replay later. I really am so excited about this talk we're going to have today because it's so timely. If you're with me, just be active in the chat and show some love in there. But we've all been through a lot, both physically and mentally, and I really took the time to study the behaviors of really successful people that are able to not just set their goals, but actually accomplish them. And tell me if you're like me and others, where you set a goal and it becomes more of a reoccurring nightmare. You want to lose weight, you want to get out of debt, you want to be a better parent, you want to start a new hobby, start a business, write a book, right? All these goals and dreams that we have. And somehow they follow us month after month, year after year. And for a lot of us, they don't get accomplished. But if you are ready, buckle up, because we are going to go inside the minds of those 20% of people, only 20%, that actually get it done and get after it. Boiled it down into 3 simple steps. This is going to be a highly interactive and action-based session with our time together. So get your notebook out, get ready to type some things into the chat, and really just get ready to create the legacy that you're meant for. So let's go. Next slide, please. Thanks. So what is a dream? I know you're thinking like, oh, this is like fantasy land. Like nobody really accomplishes their dreams. But truly, a dream is just a compelling vision for your future. If you remember back when you were a child and how you used to sit and think about all the possibilities of what you could do and what you could become, and that still small voice that says, you were meant for more. What we all have in common is that we really want to leave this world a better place than when we came in. And the best way to do that is to get after our dream and our vision and stop looking at it as it's far off in the distance and unattainable, but it is very attainable. And when you peel back the layers of a dream, what stands behind it is a strong vision, is goals, and the habits that support those goals. And so, what's interesting is recently in Forbes, they published an article about 80% of people who have already abandoned their New Year's resolutions by February, year after year. So, this is a problem, right? This is pretty common where most people make the resolution, but they don't anchor to it or they don't have the system or process in place to achieve it. So, we're not alone here, but there are those 20% that do achieve it. And so, we're going to continue to dive in. So, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Step one is clarity. You have to be absolutely crystal clear on what it is you want to accomplish with your vision. And there's a couple parts to that. So I'm going to explain this. The vision, and again, I'm going to use the word vision and dream interchangeably in this for the purposes of this discussion. They both are this highly detailed mental picture, according to John Maxwell, of your future self and your future circumstances. So you've got to see it, you've got to taste it, you've got to know what you're wearing, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What is that vision? What do you want to be known for? What would make you most proud? And the key with the vision is it has to be very compelling. And why is that? Well, look at the world we're in today, right? Go in the chat if you've set a goal before and haven't achieved it and you're lingering and you really want to find out some successful tips, just put that in the chat, right? And also go in the chat if you've faced some mental oppression. We all face mental adversity and oppression, and that tends to cloud the clarity of creating that vision that we have, which then clouds our action steps. And so it has to be a compelling vision so that it can actually pull you through the hard days. It's not that we're not going to have hard days. It's just that we need to want it so bad that it's worth fighting through those hard days. And the last part that's really interesting is it needs to be big, right? And so that we can grow into it, but also it needs to align to our strengths. And this is where I come in, where I really help people align and understand what are your true gifts and natural strengths, because over time, when you go to work and improve in your strength zone, you actually have the potential to take like a level 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 of your strength, your natural giftedness, up to a level 10 just by putting some diligent repetition and effort. And if you think about an example would be Michael Jordan, right? The famous basketball player, he set the standard, he broke records. People still compare to his records today. And that's because he operated in his zone of genius. And that's what's in common with many people that accomplish their goals is they bet really high on their strengths and they delegate out their weaknesses. Now, it doesn't mean you ignore the weakness. You embrace the weaknesses, but you spend your time, resources, and energy honing your strengths so that you can be that much more effective. And with Michael Jordan, he was so effective at basketball. But what happened when he shifted to baseball, right? Baseball, he played 1 year, never made it out of minor leagues. He had talent, but it wasn't a natural gifted strength. So I use that example to make it come to life and think about a time in your life or do an inventory on your strengths and really, are you leveraging them to your maximum capacity? Are you in a job or a role where you can really get after your strengths to help you get after your vision? That is so critical. So now we're going to get this into action. So you can take out a pen and pad or you can go into the chat and I'll have you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is some questions that I put together to help you clarify your strengths, because a lot of times people say, well, I'm not really sure anymore. I work so much, I'm tired, I don't have time to think through this. Like I don't remember what I'm good at anymore. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself. What are you naturally talented at doing? What do people come to you seeking advice for, right? Usually they gravitate and you attract the people naturally because you're good at something. So find out what that is. I want you to write this down and date it so you can look back at this and remember this is the jumping point now for you to really accomplish your goals and your dreams and create that big vision for yourself. What do you enjoy doing for hours that even if you weren't paid to do it, you could just go on and on? What do you get lost in? For me, it's this. It's high performance coaching. There is absolutely nothing like it. It's a high, right? But each person is gifted with their own individual strengths. So I want you to really take the time to figure that out. And what's fun is ask a friend, right? Or ask 3 people. I like to survey people and have them tell you, because how you see yourself could be clouded by your own mental judgment or self-sabotaging thoughts. So it's a great idea to check in with your friends. The last one is what comes easy for you and harder for others. Another great one that someone can help you point out and figure out if you're seeking clarity. And if you could go to the next slide, please. Perfect. If you need additional help, there is a scientifically based resource that I absolutely love. And I know many of us on the line actually put in the chat if you've done a behavioral assessment before. There's different corporate roles that require these sometimes, or you may go for a job application and they require, or maybe just for fun, right? People have done Enneagram. There's all different sorts of ways to assess your personality. And it's what's so fascinating about it. It's not just personality, but personality is really tied to the choices and decisions you make or you don't make in life. And this specific assessment that I use, it's a Maxwell disc. So it's a very different version of the disc. And I call it your life autobiography. It tells you your blind spots, it tells you your motivators, it tells you your ideal environment that you're most likely to thrive in, which I think is really essential for you to know. And honestly, you cannot grow. Oh, you're naturally talented at writing. Thanks, Maxine. Ooh, that's great. We need some gifted writers. I want to see your book. I want to see your book coming out. So I think it's really important to understand that this is influenced by our genetics, right? What we inherit, the environment we grew up in, and also the role models in our life that reinforce certain behaviors. So this assessment takes 15 minutes, but it spits out 30 pages of truth. And it has an action plan, and it has you go also and take a page to someone and say, hey, does this look like me? Check off the things that are like me. And it really does help people connect with themselves, because to grow yourself, you have to know yourself. So I absolutely love this assessment. So this is another tool that I use. Next slide, please. Thank you. So decide. I love this word and I love what it invokes, right? If this invokes something in you, write it in the chat when you see this word decide. And I'm going to break it down a little further, right? So I've studied linguistics before. I love breaking down the meanings and the meanings behind the meanings. And when you look at this word, decide is a Latin verb. And when broken into parts, decidere, it actually means cut off. Cut off. And why is that so powerful? Because when we don't make a decisive decision on what we're going to go all in on our strengths, so we can leverage our talents and our potential to fulfill our dream, our brain stays in limbo and it straddles, right? But when you decide, it means you're making a conscious decision to cut something off, to cut off. So if you say yes to something, you will be saying no to something else. And if you say no to something, you'll be saying yes to something else. But we need to make those decisions so that we optimize the clarity and we bring all of that into focus. Otherwise, it's like driving through a storm, the worst possible storm with no windshield wipers, right? Or driving down the right road, but in the wrong direction. We need to decide and make it definitive so that our brain gets to work neurologically and we move forward. So that's also a really critical part. Thank you very much. Next slide. All right, so here's where you get to have some fun again. So I created a 6-week course for people to really get after their vision and not just set the goal, but the framework to achieve it. And by far, all of my students have gone through the course. This is their absolute favorite activity. So you're all getting a special sneak peek of what goes on inside of Vision Ignition. And this step is so critical. It's to be accountable. You have to be accountable. So first it was be clear, right? And play in your strength zone and make it compelling. And now you take that and you want to make it so that you're holding yourself accountable. And the way that you do that is you name it, right? Out loud, on paper, write down, date it again so that you have a way to monitor and measure and track your progress. Because what we write down, we're 80% more likely to achieve, right? So we can't just keep it all in here because we know what happens in here. There's chaos, there's noise, there's our negative self-talk. So it's important that we write it down and claim it as your own, and then share it with a vision buddy. So find that person who elevates you and who uplifts you, not the person who's the naysayer or the negative one, but really get clear. And again, this is also a habit of highly effective people. They surround themselves with others that are like them so they can continually elevate their level of thinking, clarity, direction, and the actions that they take. So get a vision buddy. And now this is where we get to have some fun. So, the reason that I have a boat up here and this activity is called burning your boats is because way back in the day, when Vikings were coming to take over a land that they wanted to conquer, when they would arrive in their boats on that land, what do you think the first thing they did was? Put it in the chat. Do you think they went and pillaged the land? Did they go and run and start stealing things? Did they pick where they wanted to live? No. You know what they did? They burned their boats. They burned their boats. And what that symbolized was we're here to stay. We are all in. This is our land and our time. And I want you to take that and think about what that could mean for your life if you had that same application to the decisions you need to make, to the clarifying your vision so that you can take the next step. What boats do you need to burn so that you can be highly successful in this next season of your life? Because we always have our to-do list, right? But we need to have our not to-do list. What are those things that are not serving us, that are not taking us in the direction of our habits, in the direction of our goals, that we need to burn and, like that word says, cut off, decide, whether it's Netflix, whether it's social media, binging, right? Everything in moderation. But where you're lacking balance and excessively using one thing over another, that could really be getting in the way of your defining moment to fulfill whatever your special calling is and even your everyday calling, just to be a more present parent, to be more present in your job, to be more present so that you can grow in your goals of weight loss or getting out of debt or all those things, right? It's important to know what boat do you want to burn. So I want you all to put that in the chat. I am very curious to see. For me, I'll share, I burned the boat of TV, right? So just coming home or getting done with work, right? And then at nighttime, you get the kids in bed and you're tired and you just kind of veg out in front of the TV. Well, I realized that I had a lot of goals, like that reoccurring nightmare that were just never getting done. I carried them with me forever. And once I started to get accountable, I named it, I claimed it, and I shared it. So I shared it with my husband and I said, from now on, when the kids are in bed, from 8 to 9, 9:30, that's my private time, right? So I date myself and I come into my favorite space, which is here, and I go over what are the list of things I need to do in terms of self-development. What goals that I have, I had forever wanted to create a way to impact people so that they could really live out their full potential. And I just kept making excuses. Bottom line, there's always going to be an issue with time. There's always going to be exhaustion. There's always going to be competing priorities. But I needed to burn the boat of TV and replace it with my power hour. That's what I call it. So I make it fun and I come in here and that's what I do. And I get after and I have to say, from doing that consistently, I accomplished more things in that short amount of months that I had instituted this than I had in years of having the same goals over and over. But once that decision was made in my brain, and I also made it known to my husband, so he knew, like, don't come knocking, don't interrupt, right? Because this is her time to develop and to grow herself. That's what you need to do for yourself. It is the best, most rewarding thing that you can do so that your vision not only stays clear, that it's you stay accountable to it and that you actually accomplish it. And find that vision buddy either in networking groups or in areas where you have people that are just looking to grow. It's the best. There's nothing like it. So let me know what your boats are if you haven't put them in the chat. I'd love to see that. I'll look at them after I'm done. Okay, so the next one, please. Next slide. All right. Step 3, get going. Or as I like to say, get your hustle on, right? And in this particular step that I observed, when people are highly successful at accomplishing their dream and their vision and they really gain traction, you peel the layers back and it really is it's looking at the vision and working backwards. So, for example, when they design software that does navigation, if you were to put in, I want to go from New York to California, the navigation doesn't actually route from New York to California. It routes California and works its way backwards to New York. And that's the same way we need to be. We need to look at the goal or the vision that we have at hand and then break it down into smaller parts. And what are the healthy hustle habits, as I call them, those little micro action steps that, when done every day, routinely, they actually compound over time. And when you're tracking this, it's again, you look and you say, oh my goodness, over a week's time, I got my steps in consistently. I'm losing weight. I feel healthier and happier. I feel more fulfilled because you're doing these little micro habits that you're being very intentional about. That when you invest in yourself and your habits and your time, you will always get way more back in return, guaranteed. But there needs to be a special focus on creating these healthy habits so that they are sustainable, so that they are doable, and so that they align to what your vision is and what your core values are that drive you and keep you going. So, if you could go to the next slide, please. Perfect. So, I love this quote. Your future is found in your daily routine. Successful people do daily what others do occasionally. That really stuck with me, because how many of us have gotten on a kick, right? We get on a health kick, or we do a new workout routine, or we purchase that gym membership, and then, like that story said, um, by February, people have already abandoned ship on a lot of those New Year's resolutions or goals that they had. And so I love that it points out the daily routine is so essential. And the daily routine starts from the minute you wake up, from the minute your eyes open. That's actually the time when your brain is most impressionable. And that's a great time to feed and nourish your brain with inspiration and motivation, because we know motivation gets you going, but inspiration keeps you going. So you have to constantly inspire yourself and feed your brain. Again, another healthy habit is to start your day with prayer or meditation or an inspirational quote, whatever it is for you that gets your body in alignment and at peace and out of stress mode. Because if the first thing you're doing when you wake up is to pull out your cell phone, you're already just, whew, the energy is everywhere. Anxiety. What do I have to get done? What do I have to do? And there's never any actual planning, and there's never following a system or a process. And again, that was the struggle for me for years. And um, let me know in the chat if you agree, if you've had the same experience where you've had these really great goals and really great intention and this big dream and this big vision, but so frustrated because it just doesn't seem to get done. It doesn't seem like there's enough time, and whatever the case may be. And what I found is that me and like many of my clients, we take a great goal and we plug it into a broken system. And when that happens, you can't affect change. You are literally as weak as that broken process or framework. And on average, it's said that people spend more time planning their vacations than they do their financial stability. People spend more time planning their vacation or what movie they're going to see than planning their personal growth and development. It kind of falls under the wayside. It falls under hope. I hope this is going to happen. I hope this is going to come to fruition. I hope I can write my book. I hope I can get my story out there. I hope I can start a business. Well, hope is not a plan. Hope is not a strategy at all. It needs to be put in its place. Hope is good in certain circumstances, but when you are planning and being intentional about your life and where you need to focus your effort, energy, and resources, just like that 20% of people that do accomplish and achieve their goals and build momentum in their life, you need to be very, very diligent in looking at your micro habits and looking at the things that don't serve you and doing daily what other people do occasionally. It's so great to think outside the box and to think outside of your comfort zone, because that's truly where growth happens. And give me a yes in the chat if you agree. If you've done something out of the ordinary in 2022 already, or maybe even just over the course of this pandemic, right? So many of us have been experiencing what's called the Great Resignation. And I'm sure a lot of you've heard this on the line, or let me know if maybe you're one of the brave who've quit your job and pursued your passion, right? You went full time on your passion and you left. And that is what's happening. Millions of people back in April through June quit their jobs, because one thing that this pandemic has taught us and shown us is life is precious and our life is but a vapor. We're here today and we could be gone tomorrow. But if you truly want to make an impactful legacy and leave something behind, not just for yourself, but for others and to inspire others, if you're spending all your time working in your weakness zone, somebody once said, when you're working on your weaknesses so much, you can't effectively work on your strengths, and you're going to always be working and never be winning. You will always be working and never be winning. And what does that cost you? What does that matter? A whole lot. A whole lot. In terms of your legacy, in terms of what you were meant for. When you remove yourself from all the distraction and all of the noise that we face every day, from our phone to the news to the friends to our environment, right? And you actually feel like, yeah, there is something more I'm supposed to do, or I love working the job that I work, but I want to make an impact here. If you don't listen to that voice and start planning for it, again, hope is going to lead you down a road where you're going to take all of those dreams and ambitions and your gifts with you, and they won't be left here. So it's very critical. This is one of the most important parts of the 3 steps: is get rid of those excuses, right? Burn them. But first name them, right? Don't run, but name them, claim the excuses and say, all right, I'm being accountable and I'm getting rid of this. One of the most common things that I hear is time management. I need help with time management. I don't have time. I'm doing too many things. I have no balance. I don't have the time to work on myself. How can I work on myself when I have all these other things? And my philosophy is, you cannot pour from an empty glass. If you are so depleted and you are putting everybody and everything, and even this exercise I do, it's called people, pressure, priority. If you're putting all those people, all the priorities, all ahead of yourself, and all you're giving yourself is pressure, well, you're not going to have much to leave or fulfill in terms of your legacy. And you're not going to have a lot of joy, because it becomes, you almost become resentful. Oh, must be nice. Must be nice. They get to have vacation. Must be nice. They get to be debt free. Must be nice. They publish their book. Whenever you hear that must be nice, that's a gentle whisper saying, psst, you're getting resentful. It's time to make changes for yourself and stop making excuses. It's not that they just happened to stumble upon these things. They chased it. They had that vision that they could taste, and they created a simple action plan for each and everything they wanted to accomplish, and they held themselves accountable to do it. And that's just the best thing you could possibly do for yourself, is to shift from the resentment and turn it into, what can I do to achieve that? And one of the things I always suggest is to interview people, right? Do your admire and aspire interviews. Every year I find really interesting people that fascinate me for one reason or another. And when you look at, I don't have a picture of it here, but when you look at the wheel of life and you break down your life into quadrants: faith, family, fitness, environment, legacy, career, right? All of those things. And you find successful people, at least that you define as success, or they align to your core values and what you're looking to accomplish. Ask them if you could spend 20, 30 minutes just learning about how they got where they are and what are their daily practices, what are those daily routines. it's very eye-opening to see how different their day may be compared to yours, and what tools and tips you can incorporate into your day so that you start your day actually designing it and in control of it, as opposed to your day controlling you. And then at the end, you are depleted, empty, and have nothing left to give time to really thinking through and accomplishing your goals and your vision. So I would say, and it's been said, that time management is really an illusion. You're not managing time, you're managing yourself and your priorities. We all have 24 hours in a day. It's how we spend them, it's how we prioritize and how we take action. And having that clarity is so critical so that when it's time to take action, we're not going a bunch of different directions, right? A millimeter of progress in a million different directions. And I equate that to being similar to a lighthouse, right? A lighthouse just kind of, it's there in the distance, it's beautiful, it shines its light. But when you're laser focused, you can cut through paper. You're just piercing. And that's how you need to chase after your vision. You need to be laser focused. And I'm not saying it's easy. It definitely takes time. It takes time, and it takes trying new things to learn, like, oh wow, I really did enjoy that more than I thought I would. Or yeah, no, I really don't like that. Or I don't want to do that again. But as you start to do that, your process will reveal the path that you were meant for. And the process is to take action. Take it now. Do something today that's different than you've done before. Because if you want a different result, you have to be someone different and you have to do something different to create the different result that you're looking to see and achieve in your life. If you're doing the same old things, you can't expect anything different. So, as I mentioned, you want to set your goal and kind of work backwards towards what are the habits that align to that goal, to that vision, to that dream that are going to get me there, and how can I do them with consistency and repetition. So sometimes when people don't understand, well, what is high performance coaching? Is it therapy? Is it counseling? No, it's not. I felt the easiest way to explain it is it's like personal fitness for your mind, because your mind is the foundation that supports all the other systems and processes that are needed so that you can think big, you can continue to dream big, you continue to manage the weeds and the negative thoughts that cloud our vision, right? So when you really put effort up here and partner with a person or a coach or an accountability partner, that's really where you start to see momentum build when you're doing personal fitness of the mind. And just like any fitness routine, it takes repetition and frequency in order to build that muscle. And so you'll bounce back faster, you'll go further, and you will have an accountability that you've never had before when you partner with someone. Just like when people partner with a fitness coach, they're more likely to accomplish their goals. So it's very, very similar. It's just looking at all aspects of life. What are roadblocks? What are challenges? Healthy stress management and coping mechanisms, healthy routines so that you can find and build balance, and healthy habits and processes so that you're taking your good intentions, your goals, you're taking those special gifts and strengths that you have, and you're actually plugging them into a system that is highly efficient and highly able to be replicated so that you can do it with ease. So the next point there is creating that productive framework that I just spoke about. So you can think of the framework as guardrails, right? It's just to keep you within the boundaries that you've set for yourself. And like I always say, it's to keep you honest with yourself, because we tend to lie to ourselves and we tend to hold things back. And if we went to our favorite restaurant, you would be telling all your friends, like, oh, this food was so good. It was amazing. You tell everybody about this restaurant, you got to go to this restaurant, you got to try it out, right? But when you set a new goal or you set a new intention for the day, or you have this big vision that you want to own a second home, or you want to retire your parents, or whatever the case may be, you keep it to yourself. And what does that do? That plays it safe, right? Put it in the chat if you know, if you've been there and you've done that, and maybe you say, I'm still there. Put it in the chat, because we tend to hold those things because, again, what we all have in common is a deep fear of failure. A deep fear. Failure can be so paralyzing. Fear can be paralyzing. And so we think, oh, I'll play it safe and just hold it to myself so that nobody knows that I'm going to work for this and this. This way, if it doesn't pan out, nobody knows, just me, right? But that's not keeping the promises to yourself. And that actually destroys your self confidence because over time you lose trust in yourself and you start to doubt and second guess every decision you make because you're basing it off of the things that didn't pan out. And that's what your brain neurologically starts to see. Hey, don't do that. Don't go there. Don't do something different. Don't pay that money for this. You know what's going to happen. You're going to go back to your old self. And that's just your brain being your brain, right? Acknowledge your brain. Thank you, brain. Thanks for trying to keep me safe. But I need to grow. I need to get after what I was meant to do. And I need to apply these principles and take action. And again, it's not that these highly successful people like the Michael Jordans of the world, Oprah, right? Martin Luther King, all of these visionaries, it's not that they didn't have adversity or that their brains wasn't telling them, you'll never survive. You're not going to amount to anything. No, they had it. They were just very diligent and had a very clear process to manage the negative thoughts. And they believed in their vision so much and had such a passion for fulfilling it that it drowns out that noise, right? The noise is still there. But when you're doing the right actions and you're following your vision with such intensity, you will actually drown out that noise. So, just like we talked about burning the boats, I want you to get really excited and passionate about pursuing whatever it is you were meant to do or that you've always had kind of on the back burner and never took it to the forefront. Or I want you to commit today, right? And put in the chat, I'm committed if you're committed, because today starts the first day of really building momentum and traction in the life and legacy that you were meant for, a life that's fulfilling, that's joyful, that makes you proud, that makes others proud, that inspires others. Today's the day. If you're willing to commit, then take ownership, commit. And when you leave here, take the time to reflect on what you wrote or what you heard or rewatch this again and take every action step. Get clear. Now, mind you, the get clear, right? Going to take some time, or maybe you need some help. Maybe you want to do an assessment, however you want to do it, but ask yourself those questions. And then I want you to get accountable. I want you to find someone when you leave. Don't go into the weekend without finding someone that you say, hey, you know what? I've got this little goal. Can you just text me when I'm at it's 8:30 at night and I just want you to make sure that I'm in my spot. I'm in my power hour room doing my personal development, or I'm on my treadmill, or I'm in the gym. Can you just text me and make sure? Because that's what's going to keep you accountable. Communicate it. So I need you to commit to that. If you're committed, put that in the chat because it will what you focus on, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if it's just kind of pie in the sky up there, then it is a dream and a fantasy, right? But once you set it and make it real and write it down and make it known and claim it out loud, that's when you start to see some serious traction. And I'm telling you, I was able to write and create this 6-week intensive course just by doing these steps. I'm a product of the product. I hired a life and business coach that poured into me. I continually develop. And again, you can't pour from an empty glass. So if you truly want to be a reservoir, right? Or if you truly want to be a conduit, you have to make that choice. A conduit's going to take your strengths, your skills, your blessings, and you're going to bless others, right? The reservoir is going to just hold and retain all the knowledge or hold and retain all the talent and be too fearful to do anything. And over time, it's not going to work. It's not going to be very fulfilling. So you have now the tools to do something different, to be someone different, to create a different result. And the last thing I'll say in terms of habits, you can make them fun, right? So even though something seems monotonous, like maybe you don't like walking on a treadmill, maybe you don't have consistency in your nutrition and the things that you're eating. But if you think and peel it back again, I always like to get to the root cause because it creates sustainable change. And the root is how we think and how we're wired neurologically. Your brain is going to be cued or triggered by something, and then your brain is going to seek some type of reward, right? It's how we operate. It's what we do, right? If you're in your kitchen, you're like naturally hungry, right? Your brain is cued like, oh, I want some food. What's to eat? And when you're finding your power hour, your quiet time to self-develop, when you come into that space, you're triggering your brain to say, oh, it's time to learn. There's no distraction. Everybody knows my phone's not going to blow up. This is my time. And it accelerates your progress. I promise you, it does. So now it's the same thing with those other habits, right? Maybe you're looking for a job and applying for jobs is monotonous, right? Make it inviting and enjoyable. So maybe, light a candle, or if your goal is to hydrate, bring in all your water, right? So that's what I do. When I come into my space, I need hydration. I need to take my nutrition, my vitamins. So I bring all my vitamins, I bring my 4 bottles of water. And while I'm doing my training and accomplishing that, I've now stacked on other habits. So I'm drinking my water, hydrating, and I'm getting in my nutrition with my vitamins and nutrients. So now I'm being really efficient with my day, efficient with my time. I'm getting more done, and it's healthy. It's healthy things done. It's not, I got to binge watch this show on Netflix, or I got to scroll through social media, Facebook and Instagram. Um, and you'll see, even if you go on my Facebook for Inspired Life, I had to kind of take a step back, because it was like, do I serve my clients or do I sit here and create a post? And it got to the point where I needed to decide, and I made a choice to not abandon it, but I needed to deprioritize the post and the social media, so that I could serve my clients at a higher level, so I could be a more present mom. And actually, we just welcomed a little munchkin. He just turned 3 months yesterday. So those things that require my energy, effort, and focus, the same like yours. I want you to do an inventory on your life and find out, where should I be spending my energy, effort, and resources? Where should I partner with someone who's farther ahead or more accomplished than me, and I admire them? When can I set up a time to talk with them? And again, write down the date that you plan to reach out to that person and ask them for some time, so that you can take those learnings and start applying them as quickly as possible. But don't wait, and don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself and keep the promises you make to yourself. Because I promise you, when you invest in yourself, there is a side effect that it touches every part of your life. When you touch the foundation of your mind, you touch better relationships, better communication, better jobs, better fulfillment in your job. Your mind starts to see the opportunities. They come into focus more so than the challenges and the struggles. They're all there too. But there's 100% clarity on that vision that is so compelling. It pulls you through the opposition. It pulls you towards the healthy trade-off of, am I going to go stop at a fast food restaurant, or am I just going to go home and do some meal prep and eat healthy? You have to, again, create the reward, right? What's the reward? The reward is, if you value family, right? Go back to your core values. If family is what you value, then more time with family. If you can manage your health, more time to fulfill your goals, your dreams, desires, and ultimately, the most importantly, the legacy that you were called for. So always create a reward system for yourself, so that you can take the time and celebrate your small wins, because your small wins, when you look at them over time, compounded, just like Michael Jordan, just like Oprah, all just like Martin Luther King, right? It compounded into a huge success for them and for others that came behind them. And that is within reach for you. It is not a fantasy. It is not just for some and not for others. It is 100% in reach if you're willing to do these 3 steps. Ask yourself the difficult questions and take the time to answer them. Sit in the uncomfortableness of them. It's great if you don't know the answers right away, because it just means you need to think through it. Just means there's some weeds, there's some generational bonds that need to be broken. There's some negative thoughts that need to be burned and put away. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them are negative. We talk to ourselves in ways we would never tolerate anybody else talking to us. And so maybe that's what you commit to today, to stop the negative talk, or when it happens, you take your thoughts captive, right? That's what we're commanded to do. Take your thoughts captive. And then I do exercises with a lot of clients, and myself included, where I flip the negative thought, right? What's the truth? And what's the lie that my brain is telling me? Because neurologically, those pathways are hardwired in there. But there is something called neuroplasticity where you can actually rewire those pathways and help them to serve you with repetition and frequency. It has to be that repetition and frequency. The same that creates successful weight loss is the same that sheds mental noise. So it's very essential to make those habits rewarding and make them stackable and celebrate the wins that you have. And again, I'll repeat it because I just love it so much. Your future is found in your daily routine. You need to do today what people aren't willing to do. You need to step up and be accountable and let this pandemic, let all of these things that have happened be the catalyst for your success. Next slide, please. So this is the trifecta, and I'll be wrapping up soon. But this is really sums it all up. There's a law called the law of least effort, which if you've ever heard of people tell you, you need to work smart, not hard. Anyone ever hear that? Put that in the chat if you heard that. Jamie, you heard that, right? Yes. I heard it when I first started in corporate years ago, and I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, what do you mean don't work hard? Of course you got to work hard. But now it makes so much sense, right? There's a way to work that's so much more efficient and multiplies and quantum leaps your success. And there's a way to work really long, hard, and tedious and monotonous. And when you're not aligned again to your strengths, when you don't have the proper habits to support your efforts, you will work very hard to then fulfill your dream. But when you combine all three and you know without a shadow of a doubt your strength zone, and again, just because it's your strength doesn't mean it doesn't require work. You're going to work at your strength and you're going to get to an area of excellence, again, far faster and far greater impact than just focusing on the negatives or focusing on your weaknesses or challenges. And when you couple that with the healthy hustle habits, right? And you're tracking your habits, you're checking them off, then ultimately you will fulfill your dream. And that's the sweet spot. That's the trifecta. And it really does lead to a lot less effort. It's effortless. It feels more joyful. You're still working hard. I still work very hard in my coaching practice, but I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like the definition of work. It feels like my mission, right? And I know there are people out there that have a mission they need to accomplish and they've been too afraid to take the risk, or they maybe didn't have the tools or know how. But I challenge you to take the plunge because it's so much more fulfilling on the other side. Next slide, please. So, in summary, the very first step to all of this and changing the trajectory of your life is clarity. And how do you get it? You have to seek it. You have to have a passion and a thirst and a hunger for it to get clear on what it is your vision is, to think back when you were a child and had that curiosity before the world got to you, before those generational bonds took over, right? Think through, be clear, make sure it's compelling, and make sure it's a size too big so that you have room to grow into it. Next, you need to be accountable, burn the boats, and get your vision buddy. If you need a vision buddy, I make a great one. But be accountable. Don't hold back. Be all in. Don't straddle or have that little safety net that's there to catch you. Make it known, just like the Vikings did. And lastly, get going. Traction comes from taking action. It does not come from wishing, watching, sometimes over consuming, right? I've put in the chat if you've done this, right? Where you get every podcast and you listen to this podcast, you're listening to this audiobook, you're reading this book. And me too, just so many. But your brain can only process so much and only remember so much, and then it can only take action on so much. So don't just be a consumer, be a designer. Take action. Pick one thing, stick to it, look at the principles that you want to take from it, write it on your goal list, and get it into action rather just consuming, consuming, consuming. The traction will come from taking action, and you will make an impact on your life, your business, your family, your career, your finances, and your legacy. 100%. So I think, let me see if I have another slide. Or are they done? Okay, yes, my thank you slide. So I want to really thank you for taking the time to spend your lunch break with me, or if you're watching the replay, I thank you for that. And I challenge you to do the things that you've learned here that are highly successful habits to create a highly successful outcome for your life. Stay in touch, visit me. I am now enrolling for Vision Ignition. It's the 6-week intensive program that I told you through this process, I was able to create and make an impact on the people that I was called to serve. And if you know people or you yourself are looking to get clear, get confidence, and get going on whatever your goals are for this particular season of life, and if you want to do a personality assessment, that's actually included in the Vision Ignition course. Definitely stay in touch and get on the waiting list. Join the VIP newsletter so that I can keep you updated on things to come. A lot of great big plan and vision for 2022. And I'm creating the habits that create success. I'm working them, and I want you to work it with me. And lastly, I'll say that there is a complimentary habit tracker waiting for you. Should you desire to take action and get started today, put in the chat. Maybe you don't know what a habit tracker is. Some people do, some people don't. But it's just I actually, well, I don't know if you can see this, but there we go. It's like this. It's like a spiral. And then you put your goals and things that you want to accomplish over here. And you get to color it in and again, make it fun, rewarding, and a stress reliever for yourself and your brain as you do those little micro habits. So I have a complimentary PDF version of a habit tracker that you can print out for each month of the year. And what's just amazing is when you even just go a few months out and look at how much progress you made, how many days of exercise you've gotten in, or nutrition, or budgeting to get out of debt, whatever the case may be, it's just really a nice visual way to keep track because our brains think in images. And so that's why it's really important to get these things down on paper and track them because what we track, we can monitor, measure, and make improvements. And we can process once our brain can actually see it, which is why, again, that vision and dream needs to be something that you know exactly what you're wearing, how you smell, and where your feet are. Are they in the sand or are they up in the mountains? So I thank you so much for your time, attention, and definitely stay in touch with me. I want to know what learnings you took from this, and if you need help with something and gaining clarity, I'm more than happy to help.
Great job, Dana. Oh wow, I'm sure that the community agrees with me. I see a comment from a Laura St. Jean saying, "Thank you for hosting this. It has been refreshing." For me, I would say that it is divine. I
Oh,
believe in divine timing, and when you're seeking, everything will be delivered. And I am a person who definitely has some, I wouldn't say habits to break, but patterns that don't work for me. Like I work night jobs, and then sometimes I'll come in and instead of taking it straight to bed, I'll stay up really late, which then has me sleeping in really late. And then it's like I constantly feel like I'm playing catch up on my
yes.
time. And that was what became glaringly clear to me. That's what I got really clear on for myself today, which is your step one. And just to
Yeah.
remind the community, you have the option to rewatch again, but there is also me. I'm going to recap and let you know that step one is to be clear, step two is to be accountable. And step three is to get going. And I'm so grateful and thankful to be a part of the Juneteenth community, which is ran by Miss Athenia Rodney, who will do all of that for me. She will help me be accountable. She will hold me accountable. You hear this, Athenia? I know you're
I
busy
love it.
handling business, but I am claiming you my vision buddy. But I think she knows that that's what she is already. Community, I hope that you all loved what Dana offered today. And again, please check her out at inspiredlifedesignstudio.com. Go and join that VIP group, get your complimentary habit tracker, and let her be your coach. Let her coach you if you're stuck and if you're having a problem getting clear, being accountable, or getting it going. Thank you so much, Dana. I look forward to connecting with you again in the future. This is not our first time connecting. I do believe it was, oh, and congratulations on the baby.
Oh, thank
Congratulations on the new
you.
addition. Because I believe, if I'm correct, you might have been with child the last time we met up. And I think I
Yes.
do remember that coming up. So thank you for sharing. And what's his name? Is it a boy or
Ashton,
a girl?
yeah, so third boy, Ashton Alexander.
Welcome, Ashton Alexander. We have a new member in the Juneteenth family. And
Absolutely.
thank you, community, for joining us today. As usual, keep your eye out for all things Juneteenth. We have all kind of great things coming up, more great lunch and learns. We're planning out and getting ready for this year's Juneteenth, which I will be leading us into the replay of the commercial. So please stay with us. There are opportunities to vend, opportunities to have your business seen, opportunities to be seen, felt, and heard out in the world through the Juneteenth family. And thanks again. And with that being said, we can roll into the commercial. See you guys.